Some stories never get told, not because they aren't true, but because the systems around them were built to keep them quiet. And you really start looking at how those systems work, you realize something uncomfortable. Silence is rarely accidental. My name is Lisa Pink Matsky. I'm a survivor, I'm a writer, and I'm someone who reached a point where staying silent stopped feeling like survival and started feeling like surrender. Welcome to Real Talk with Pink. Before we get into what this channel is about, I want to introduce myself properly. My name is Lisa, but most people know me as Pink. Like many survivors, my story isn't simple. It isn't neat, and it isn't something that fits into a short explanation. What I can say is this. For a long time, I did what many survivors do. I tried to move forward quietly. I tried to focus on rebuilding my life. I tried to convince myself that maybe the best way to survive what happened was just to keep going and not look back. And for a while, that seemed like the safest path. But eventually, I started realizing something that changed everything for me. Silence wasn't protecting me, it was protecting the systems that allowed the harm to happen in the first place. And once you see that clearly, it is very hard to pretend you don't. One of the things people often misunderstand about survivors is why so many stay silent for years. People ask questions like, why didn't you say something sooner? Why didn't you report it? Why didn't you fight back? Those questions sound simple, but the reality behind them is incredibly complicated. Survivors often face enormous pressure to stay quiet. There's fear of retaliation, fear of not being believed, and fear of being blamed. There's also the reality that many institutions are not designed to respond well when survivors speak out. In many cases, the instinct of an institution is not to ask, how do we help this person? The instinct is often to ask, how do we protect ourselves? And that difference changes everything. When institutions prioritize reputation over truth, a culture of silence develops, and that culture becomes incredibly powerful. People inside the system may know something is wrong, but they stay quiet because speaking up can come with consequences. Careers can be damaged, relationships can be strained, people can be labeled as troublemakers, so silence becomes normalized. And over time, that silence protects the institutions more than it protects the people within it. That's something many survivors eventually recognize, and when they do, they're faced with a difficult decision. Stay quiet and protect the systems, or speak out and risk everything. For me, there was a moment where I realized something important. If survivors remain silent, the system never has to change. And if the system never changes, the same patterns continue. New victims, new silence, new cover-ups. That realization changed how I looked at my own story. It stopped being just about what happened to me. It became about something much bigger. A picture that includes countless survivors who were told directly or indirectly that their voices didn't matter. I decided that wasn't a story I was willing to accept anymore. That's why I created Pink, Real Talk with Pink. This space is about conversations that many people would prefer not to have. We're going to talk about survivors' experiences. We're going to talk about institutional silence. We're going to talk about accountability. But we're also going to talk about something just as important: life, healing, resilience, and the process of reclaiming your voice after someone tried to take it away. Because survivors aren't defined only by what happened to them, they're defined by what they choose to do afterward. One thing I want to be very clear about is that this channel isn't going to be only serious conversations. Yes, we're going to talk about difficult topics, but we're also going to talk about life, humor, growth, the weird, complicated process of rebuilding your identity after trauma. Because healing isn't just about confronting pain, it's also about rediscovering joy and learning that your life is bigger than the worst thing that ever happened to you. Why this matters? When survivors speak out, something powerful happens. It creates space for other people to recognize their own experiences. It challenges systems that depend on silence, and it forces conversations that institutions would often prefer to avoid. But most importantly, it reminds people who feel alone that they are not, that their story matters, that their voice matters, and that silence is not the only option. On this channel, you're going to see a mix of conversations. Some episodes will focus on survivor experiences. Some will explore the larger systems that allow abuse and silence to exist. Some will be interviews, and some will just be honest conversations about life and rebuilding after trauma. Because the truth is, surviving something difficult changes you, but it doesn't end your story. In many ways, it becomes the beginning of a new one. If you believe truth matters, if you believe survivors deserve to be heard, and if you're not afraid of real conversations, you're in the right place. This is Real Talk with Pink. My goal is simple: truth, accountability, and making sure survivors are heard. Because silence protects institutions, but truth protects people. Subscribe to Real Talk with Pink. New conversations every week. Truth, accountability, survivors heard.